Revelation 2:9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Awashai Bashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers that do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the confusion of faith joined unto our ranks, the hopefully elect, the Akwaf that are listening and learning. Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of GMS here in Chicago, coming with another lesson. And without any further ado,
Chabad Lubavitch mob. Chabad Lubavitch mobsters right there. The organized crime syndicate that controls the government. You won't like it when we mob up. It's coming.
he's threatening violence against the government, which fulfills scripture. All right, the scripture of the great insurrection, which is talked about in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. All right, but this is Mark 3:25, and it reads, start at 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but have an end. And that end is described in Isaiah, the 14th chapter, verses 12 through 16. All right, the Satan is a man. He is a house divided. He's telling you that Satan has a house, a race. You know, like the house Targaryen, the house of Miller, the house of McDermott, the house of Smith. All right, we're talking about a race of people, the house of Edom. All right, who is the so-called white man who's totally divided? Because both the fake Jews and this militia media are both Edomites. He tries to profess that the true biblical Edomites are Scotia of the Celts and the Irish. The relics in the history reveals that the Celts and the Irish were so-called black people. So-called.
We're here out in front of the Washington Convention Center. We got a bunch of treasonous cops and other government agents guarding these terrorists inside. Enemies of the people. Enemies of the people right here. Enemies of the American people right here at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. The fake Jew Khazarian state of Israel carried out the 9/11 attacks. Funny thing is, they don't have anything to do. They got nothing to do with the biblical tribes of Israel. They're imposters. They're from the Russian steppes.
This is Matthew 12:25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself cannot stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? So Satan has a kingdom. And his kingdom is here on earth, not in some mythical place called hell. Right? And the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. The wicked in the Bible are identified as Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. All right? When you go to the Maccabees, the first book of Maccabees, it tells you that when Alexander came into power and took dominion over Europe and the East, that wickedness came into the earth at that time. He gave dominion over North Africa, over Europe, and over Asia. He divided it between his 4 generals, the old world. All right, he divided those places between his 4 generals, the Edomites, and they came into the earth. And what did they do? They whitewashed Egypt, and then they whitewashed Europe. And now they claim those nationalities. You still have Edomites in North Africa saying that they're Moroccans and North Africans. You got them down in South Africa saying that they're South Africans. You got them in Australia saying that they're Australia. You got them in America saying that they're Americans. In France saying that they're French. And so on and so forth. This is the book of Job 9 and 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, covered up the faces. He put that cast, that covering cast, that veil over all the nations. And he claimed to be everyone of importance, especially the Hebrew Edomites. When in actuality, he is the red Hebrew Edomites. Salakia. He claimed to be the Israelites when he is the red Hebrew Edomites. All right. The brothers to the Israelites. The wicked brothers, that is, because they actually broke the brotherly covenant.
Russian, Khazarian, Jew mobsters run this criminal government
That
through
part is true.
racketeering. Look, they're blocking off public streets in order to protect terrorists. Guilty.
Now, this guy's riling up the people. He's starting to get followers, man, and he goes live and everything, man. These Edomites are angry that the Khazars, the fake Jews, the impostor Jewish people, didn't share 100% the wealth with them. What they gave them was a false sense of security called whiteness. When whiteness was created in 1681, and they were able to get benefits just because of their skin color, which isn't white, by the way, they're red. But, that gave them certain rights in society, which benefited them well for a small period of time. But now that everything is coming to an end, there's a bottleneck on the wealth, and all the wealth is going to the upper echelon elites, which are mainly the Jewish and the other white false Christians. The other Edomites are catching the short end of the stick now and suffering and starting to because they're starting to move into the hood, man. I'm seeing more and more Edomites move into the areas in Chicago where blacks and Latinos live, so-called, especially when they move among so-called blacks, because there's always Esau with his division, wisely always put the Northern Kingdom next to hit the unfavored low-level Edomites, was mainly the Polish and the Serbians and things of that nature. You always see the Northern Kingdom bordering those neighborhoods. You always have the so-called Hispanics, and then you have Polacks and Serbs and things of that nature. All right, that's why you always see those intermixing. You have a lot of Northern Kingdom women that marry Edomite men from those said tribes that I just spoke of. All right, and vice versa. You find a lot of that. But now it's getting so bad to where Edomites are moving straight into the hood where Judah is, which is going to be a nightmare for them when it does collapse. And like that guy said, you're not going to like it when we mob up. He's threatening action against the police and referring to them as treasonous, which truthfully they are. What he's saying according to the Constitution, and the police were put in place to police and protect those very Jews that we're talking about. That's why they wear the Rothschild shield, is the police badge. So he clearly doesn't understand that. The police badge is that Rothschild shield, man.
Of treason.
And that happens to be the same badge that the slave patrol wore. That's all the police were. The police were put in place to keep so-called Negro men away from white women. All you have to do is learn the history of what happened in colonial British Virginia and Maryland in the 1600s, in the 1700s to understand that.
A lot of these guys, there's nothing wrong with them. they're fine, except for the fact that they're uniformed gangsters guilty of treason for protecting the treasonous, among other things. Everything the cops do is treason. Everything every cop does is treason.
Wow.
How's it going? What do you think about the Book of Revelations?
You don't read it.
You don't read it? Well, this is America, and this is a Christian country. So, what are you doing here besides causing problems?
I'm trying to video you, but I don't know how to.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Well, I'm videoing you, so don't worry about it. Nobody's gonna watch yours.
No one's gonna watch
So
it.
wait a minute.
Oh yeah, people. I mean, yeah, probably more than thousands will watch.
So
Watch mine.
it's a
I would
Christian
say.
country, so other people aren't allowed here.
Well,
They're
not allowed
yeah,
to hold
why?
power.
Well, that's
not
not.
allowed to hold power. They're not allowed to be elected to office.
Well, it's not about. There's no problem
Wait a minute,
with.
he didn't answer me.
Oh, Khazars should be kicked out of the United States. Of course. Of course. Why has your tribe been kicked out of every single country you've ever been in? Why? I mean, why is that?
Let's see if I
I've
can.
got
Chicanery?
it. I've got it.
There, I got you.
All right. Well, I've got you.
Say, did the Holocaust happen?
That's what you keep calling it, but certainly, maybe 30,000 people.
Well, they train these imposters well, man. They always bring up something that's totally irrelevant to the situations that are going on today to try to justify their wickedness, man. And this Edomite is calling these imposter Jewish Edomites out, man. And that's typically what they go to. Every time they get backed into a corner about their policies and the wrong that they're doing, they throw out the Holocaust, which does not add up. Because the Holocaust tries to make 1 + 1 = 3. Because the things that they say doesn't match up to the facts. And I'm not going to go into that history because I'm not thoroughly learned on it. One thing I do know is that the numbers that they claim were impossible, because the census gave a certain number of them. It said it was only about close to 2.9 million of them in 1939. So, so how did just a few years later 6 million die? So, unless every person plus the children included all had two or more children apiece, that was impossible. Because if, like I said, they're making 1 + 1 = 3.
Or 300,000 people, according to the Red Cross, died of typhus, but certainly there was no extermination policy. Of course, everybody knows that. Do you think that?
How do you gas somebody with bullets?
Who carried out 911?
Of course,
911 did Al Qaeda.
Mossad did it. Mossad did
Who's Al
9/11. Are
Qaeda?
you kidding?
Who employs Al Qaeda?
Who created Al Qaeda? Mossad created Al Qaeda.
Well, the whole, there was that guy that called, ISIS Israeli security. What was it? Israeli security. I forget the acronym now. Now I can't remember what he called it, but it definitely had the name Israeli in it, and then it said ISIS. And then what you have to understand too is what makes you think that a group of Muslims, of Arab Muslims, Ishmael descent of the descent of Ishmael, a bunch of Allah worshiping Muslims would call themselves after a Greek make-believe god. Do you really believe that?
What's up, man?
Who killed John
What's
F.
up, man?
Kennedy?
Who killed John F. Kennedy?
Who killed John?
I don't know who killed John F. Kennedy, but we know that the Jewish mob does all
They
sorts of
controlled-
chicanery. We know
they
they did
controlled their-
9/11. We know they attacked the USS Liberty. We know that they carried out attacks inside the United States, false flag attacks in New Zealand. They just did that one, that fake shooting in New Zealand. That was all about the Mossad. All about the Mossad.
Who produces pornography in the U.S.?
You tell me you're asking all these questions that you already know the answer to. And
No,
it's
I
not
don't.
Jews.
What's the answer?
I presume it's the fake Khazarians. I mean, I've read books like Reefer Madness.
It's true. The porn industry was developed and pushed by the Jewish.
They get into the creation of the modern day pornography industry in the United States. And of course, it was the Cleveland Jewish mob. I mean, do you think I don't know what I'm talking about? You know what you're talking about. You know what you guys are doing. Come on. I mean, so why are you asking me questions when you already know the answer?
Asylum you ran out of. Which house you came out of?
The true house of Israel. The true house of Israel.
All right, I'm going to try to turn this off. There we go.
You see,
true
she
house of
just proved
Israel.
what I said. A house is a race of people. She said, what house did you come out of? All right? And she should know that she and he both are from the house of Edom.
Of the Scythian Celts. Of course. The true house of Israel. Not fake imposter, fake Jews who say they are Jews but are not.
This is Zechariah 9:6. And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. Ashdod is a port city near Tel Aviv, Israel. And I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. So the Bible told you that a fraudulent, fake, phony people, that's one of the meanings of bastards. Fraudulent, fake, and phony. I have a 1933 Webster's Thesaurus, and at the word bastard, some of the synonyms were fraudulent, fake, and phony. Frauds. It just as Ezekiel 36 chapter tells you that the Edomites would prescribe the land of Israel to themselves and divide it. All right? There's an account of that in the book of Joel too. So things are getting hot, man. Things are getting hot. And this system is going to collapse. And this house of Edom is divided. The ruling class people are about to bump heads. All right? And in the midst of that, Jake is going to get caught. In the midst of that is going to be Jacob's trouble. So with that, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh B'Shem Abishai, B'Shem Rakak Wadash, Wa Abba Babal.